My name is Jacqui Richards, and I am from the Chorley First Ward and currently serving on the Stake Relief Society presidency. I would like to share with you a few of my ancestors who were pioneers, and one of which served a mission in the Blackburn area. This is John Lindsay. He is my first cousin 6 times removed. John was born in Dunlady Island in 1804. He married Elizabeth Shanks and they lived in Dunlady with their 4 children, until they emigrated to Liverpool in 1834. They did have 8 children in total, but sadly the first 4 died in infancy. John was a Methodist minister, and whilst living in Liverpool they met the missionaries and joined the church in 1848. Their 9th child, Joseph Lindsay, was born on the 31st of March 1949. The Lindsay family emigrated to St. Louis, Missouri in 1851 on the ship Olympus. Elizabeth was also expecting their 10th child. A branch president, William Howell, was also on the same ship, along with 245 Latter-day Saints, and during the voyage he called John to be one of his counsellors. The 1851 voyage of the Olympus became famous for the startling number of converts it produced. After 3 weeks at sea, the ship ran into a raging storm. Even the captain feared they might be lost. He sent a message to President Howell to have the Mormons pray to their God for deliverance. Howell reassured him that God would protect them. As the elders prayed below deck, the storm suddenly abated, and this, the saints as well as the captain, attributed to divine providence. After repairs were made, the skipper gave the Latter-day Saints permission to hold religious services for the entire ship. Members responded enthusiastically and preached to everyone who would listen. At first, a baptismal font was improvised from a large barrel, which could be entered via a ladder on deck. Sometime later, a platform was suspended from ropes and lowered into the ocean, where more baptisms were performed. During the 54-day passage, 50 converts were baptized, including 1 before sailing and 1 after arrival at New Orleans. From New Orleans, the Lindsay family travelled by steamboat to St. Louis, arriving on the 3rd of May 1851. St. Louis had been a place of refuge for many saints following expulsion from Nauvoo, and it was also a stopping point for immigrants en route from New Orleans to Utah Territory. The Lindsays settled in St. Louis, where the new baby was born on June 18th, but sadly died a few weeks later. Then Elizabeth also died on October 6th. Her death certificate lists the cause of death as consumption, the 19th century term for tuberculosis. John presided over the St. Louis branch until 1859, when he decided to take his family to Salt Lake to join the saints there. They departed in the autumn time and travelled by freight train. They had not long been in the Salt Lake Valley when John became ill and died from meningitis on the 25th of October 1859. Leaving his children as orphans. But the church members stepped up, and they took them in. William and Mary Parker looked after the children and raised them. Mary Parker was actually Elizabeth Shanks' cousin, who had joined the church in Ireland and emigrated to Utah in 1853. Joseph Lindsay, who was the 9th born child, born in Liverpool shortly before the family emigrated to Missouri, is the ancestor I will now talk about. He was baptized on the 30th of September 1866. He was ordained an elder on the 6th of December 1869. And then at 20 years old he married Emma Bennion. They lived in Taylorsville, Utah, where they had a farm and a general store. They had 10 children, and in 1891 he served a 2-year mission in Ireland. Prior to this, he was ordained a member of the 70. In 1906, he served another mission and was sent to Liverpool. During this mission, he presided over the Blackburn branch from 1907 to 1908. I have copies of all the letters he wrote home to his wife Emma during his mission in Blackburn. He lived at 35 Alma Street, and then at 39 Albert Street, and eventually at 210 London Road, Blackburn. He talks about all of the missionaries he served with, how many people he spoke to, the lessons he taught, and the places he also visited to teach, including Burnley, Blackpool and Preston. He often talks about the member he served and who fed him dinners, the Dodgsons, the Warwicks, Hubert Craven, the Gerards and Mrs. Berry, to name a few. He talks about the very first Relief Society president that was called in Blackburn, and I found it particularly humorous when he expressed his delight in this call. A widow who will become the Relief Society president. She just doesn't know it yet. There was a family who were emigrating to Canada, and so the saints came together to raise money to buy their organ for their church meetings, something which brought great delight in order to sing hymns. This also came in handy when he had a companion who could sing very well, so his companion sang while he gave the sermon. He talks about how he would go to Blackburn Market Square to teach the people. It was the place where most religious leaders also went to preach. The other leaders would often get into arguments with each other, and at this point, Joseph and his companions decided to leave, but often wondered what happened after. He keeps a great record of how many tracts were completed and how many books of Mormon were sold. He often bears his testimony, and this has truly touched my own testimony. And I'd like to read one of his letters dated the 2nd of October 1907. Dear wife, I received your welcome letter yesterday, October 1st, and was pleased to learn that all were well at home and getting along all right. I am thankful to say that this leaves me in my usual health and also enjoying my labours, though I have not been able to see much of the fruits of the same as yet, but I am living in hope that I may be able to see some of the results of my labours here. 10 months have passed away since I left home. I suppose you keep track of the time also. Monday night, we held an open-air meeting on the Market Square. Had a good crowd to hear us. Last night, we held Book of Mormon class at the Gregory's. President Midgley was here with us last night. He has got his release. He is here to make his last visit with the Saints of Blackburn. He is going to take a trip to the continent before he leaves for home. Elder Gregson is to take his place as president of the Liverpool Conference. Elder H.L. Smith has been in Blackburn over 10 months. He is to leave us next Friday and go to Wigan to take Elder Gregson's place. Elder Brinton and I are to remain here for a while and take care of the little flock of the Lord's sheep that are here, and to see if we can't find a few more of the lost ones. Elders Smith and Midgley have gone out visiting the saints. Elder Brinton has gone out tracting. I thought I would sit down and answer your letter, as the mail leaves here for America tonight. I received a letter from James Gerard a few days ago. I called to see his sister yesterday. She is living in hopes of going to Utah someday. You told me of some of the good things you had to eat, peaches and spring chickens. We never get any of that kind over here, but we get along very well. We've been having bread and milk for our breakfast for the last week or so. Sometimes we have a poached egg and toast for dinner. We generally either have meat and potatoes or fish. Thursdays and Fridays are the days we have fish. For tea we just have bread and butter and jam and a cup of boiled water. The people here that we have been with don't seem to know but little about making pastry. It would make you smile to see some of the pies they make. We take what is set before us and say nothing for conscience sake. We sometimes think of the good things we used to get when we were at home, and we will be able to appreciate them better when I return home. I have not eaten but a very little fruit and any kind since I have been over here. The apples seem to be a failure in these parts. There seems to be plenty of plums and grapes on the market. The weather has been keeping fine, though we had a good shower last night. It is fine again this morning. To give you an idea of what I am doing over here, I will give you my report for the month of September. Delivered tracts from door to door, 3,170. Otherwise, 267. Total, 3,437. Sold 80 books. Had 21 first invitations, 45 re-invitations. Visited 12 saints. Attended 7 hall, 6 open air, 4 Sunday schools, 3 Bible classes and 1 priest meeting, and held 111 gospel conversations beside our time spent in study. Such is missionary life in Great Britain. Hoping these few lines will find you all enjoying good health and the blessing of the Lord as they leave me at this time. I remain as ever your faithful husband and father, Joseph S. Lindsay. I honestly can't describe how incredible it has been to learn of these ancestors, to see their faith and determination to live the gospel and share the gospel. Their testimonies have strengthened my own. We only discovered this lineage a few years ago when I felt a prompting to search for more information on my great-great-grandmother Martha. We only knew her as her married name of Fitzpatrick, but I was able to find her birth record, which had her maiden name of Lindsay, and from that I found her parents. And then we were able to find a few more generations, which then linked me through a match to the family line already present in Family Search. Then a few months later, whilst my mum was on her mission, she discovered a record hint which was for Joseph Lindsay. This then alerted her to this side of the family and their pioneer heritage. We do not know if our direct Lindsay line ever heard the gospel during their time on this earth, but what a blessing it is to know that their temple ordinances are complete, and they have the opportunity to accept the gospel now. After Joseph completed his mission in Blackburn, he was placed in charge of a company of emigrating saints. Joseph located his family in Taylorsville. He homesteaded a farm which for years was known as the Lindsay Farm. It is reported that Joseph was a successful stock raiser and farmer in Salt Lake County. He built a one-room log home on the west border of the farm and later a two-room log home on the east border of the farm. As the years passed, Joseph built onto the latter home, where the 11 children of the family were raised. In addition to being a farmer, an active church member, and a father, Joseph found time to serve in his community as constable and justice of the peace. Joseph passed away peacefully at his home on the 2nd of February 1918, having served the Lord well. It is said that Joseph Lindsay is a notable example of the scripture, "Choose ye this day whom ye will serve, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord."